Hi all, today we're going to be talking about the Betelgeuse. It is the Vanus Sovereignty's directive reward light machine gun, and it is actually quite good. It's one of the directive weapons that is arguably worth going for, and it actually has demonstrable use of the Orion thanks to its heat mechanic. So, like all directive weapons, the Betelgeuse is based on its starter weapon, this of course being the Orion, which is already notorious for being arguably one of the best LMGs on Vanu. So, the Beetle's already in a pretty good spot because it's based on such a good weapon. And then they gave it heat, and it was one of the original Vanu directive weapons to get heat, and it has stood the test of time. Heat is very, very good and a very useful mechanic to have on the Heavy because heat, LMGs, and Heavy all mesh together very effectively. So, all the stats are the same as the regular Orion. The only differences are in the reload speed because the Beetle always uses the flat short 3 seconds, and you lose 5 rounds to the magazine is a bit of a pay for heat, but it usually doesn't matter that much. So, what heat really allows you to do is heat allows you to sustain. And this is heat's greatest advantage. As long as you're being careful and you're kind of making sure you're not constantly on the trigger, you can have near infinite uptime with a heat weapon provided you know what you're doing. And when you consider the fact that Heavy Assault is already an aggressive class and has tools to keep itself alive and sustained in the fight with abilities like Assimilate and the Adrenaline Shield, the Betelgeuse's, trait of having really good sustain meshes well with the Heavy Assault having really good sustain. And because you have a reasonably big magazine at 45 rounds, you have a lot of room to use the sustain, and that's why heat works so well on this gun compared to some of the other Vanu directed weapons. So, the Betelgeuse has, unfortunately, not that much in the way of actual options. You have your standard 1 to 4x optic lineup. I would personally only run with a 1. Even though you do get recoil-reducing attachments, I personally find the recoils a little bit too sharp to use anything above a 1, but you can do so if you'd like. On the barrel, you get access to the flash suppressor in the short. Flash suppressor's fine if you just want a slot filler. The short is kinda hit or miss. If you want to commit to a hipfire build on this thing, which is reasonably viable, you can. But I personally think it just hits the vertical recoil a bit too much, and if you're going to use the Betelgeuse aiming down sights, which will help you a lot with sustaining since you won't have to waste as many shots on targets, I would either go with the flash suppressor or leave it blank, but the short barrel is a viable choice. Now in the rail, all of these options are fine. Unfortunately, the equip time penalties of the grip will be felt, but, making your gun more reliable, more accurate on a gun that already highly rewards taking down targets in quick shots, very useful trait. The angled grip is fine because it helps the Betelgeuse's severe first shot recoil, and the laser sight is fine if you want to go with the hipfire build. They're all good attachments. Of course, the dark light is the dark light. In the ammo slot, you're better off taking soft point than high velocity. Generally, you won't want to use the Betelgeuse very much at range, and even if you're good, it's unlikely that you'll be consistently landing 100% headshots to make the 125 damage extension range worth it. I would personally run soft points as it will give you some body shot leverage out to a longer range compared to dropping off earlier with a high velocity. But they're both viable, I just believe soft point is a better choice here. So that's about it for how you build the Betelgeuse and, a raw look at its stats. It is a very, very good weapon, provided you can control its recoil and you can play its sustain effectively. So, we are currently on reasonably primetime Vesemir. It is 5:14 p.m. on a Thursday night on Connery. Or no, it's Friday. God, can you tell I'm on a break right now from classes? Time is all fading away. So, we're just going to jump into fights. Hopefully they'll be kind of decent, but it's not super popular Vesemir right now, so you never know. Where this weapon really, really shines in comparison to other options is in close quarters aggressive pushes. For that reason, the Betelgeuse works excellently as a squad weapon. If you're pushing points in a squad, and you have a couple players with Betelgeuses, provided they're not just bone rushing into point, you have excellent sustain and can keep your push easily fed and safe on ammo. Of course, infinite ammo from heat is not actually that desirable here, but it's more so the raw sustain you get out of having heat that really elevates the Betelgeuse. And the recoil is a little bit on the sharp end, but it is fine. It does kick noticeably vertically, but it's still a fine recoil pattern. I'm kind of bad at the game when it comes to vertical recoil because I'm weird, but if you can get the vertical recoil down, it is a reasonably controllable weapon. So, it's just a good gun, you know? As a directive award, I think it's actually very good. It is arguably a direct upgrade on the Orion, just because heat is so powerful on LMGs. But you don't need to feel like you have to get it. But it is just a very good weapon, should you want to get it. That's the best thing to say about it, is it's not, like, don't get me wrong, you will probably be fine with an Orion in most circumstances, but the traits of the Betelgeuse are nice to have when you need to push aggressively, and provided you have the raw skill to do so. But it is a good directive award, you know, it doesn't feel like it's super powerful over the regular Orion, but it does bring a very useful gimmick to the table that increases the Orion's effectiveness at what the Orion was always originally intended to do. In addition, a 3-second reload is very snappy for LMGs, so even if you decide to manually reload it, which is actually technically faster in the top end of the Betelgeuse's heat pool, you know, it is a very nice trait to have. It's a good LMG, and, you know, heat is actually useful here, unlike most of the other Vanu directive weapons. You know, heat actually just meshes really well with the heavy assault. What's that engineer place down? I guess nothing much. It's, you know, it's a nice variant. It's a very nice variant on the original Orion, you know? If you liked using the Orion for close quarters pushes, which is arguably what the weapon was always designed to do, the Betelgeuse only further benefits that. It's just a very, very good LMG. That said, it does have a couple of noticeable flaws. As I've stated a couple times now, the recoil pattern is a little tough to learn. It does kick noticeably hard vertically, and if you're not used to it, or you're just not expecting it, it will catch you off guard. But once you have it down, it's super reliable. In addition, the weapon is also not that good at range due to its recoil pattern, but you can still make it work. Like, even its negative traits you can work around by using the Betelgeuse in close range as an assault weapon, which is, you know, what it was always meant to do. I see there, buddy. So I don't have to sit and have downtime to reload in between engaging these Terran infantry that push because I have heat. I don't need to worry about, you know, taking a quick step back to reload. In that way, it's actually one of the best farming weapons of the game. If you're just here to farm KDR, you know, it allows you to farm so much more effectively because you don't need to have downtime to reload the gun. So, in that regard, it's excellent. As for the directive itself, unfortunately, the Vanu light machine gun lineup isn't that good. Outside of the Orion, the Maw, and maybe the LSW. But, you know, it is a reasonably fine directive, and for the reward, I would definitely argue it's a worthwhile, like, unlock. If you do a lot of Vanu heavy play, or if you want a good squad assault weapon, I absolutely think this gun is worth your time. But if you're just, you know, kind of average at the game and you just want a weapon that will be fun to use and unique as a directive reward, I'm not so sure the Betelgeuse would be it. It is very good, and, you know, the heat mechanic is genuinely useful here, but it does feel a lot like just an Orion that gets way more sustained, which is not bad at all. If you really love the Orion, it's absolutely a great grind. But, you know, if you're looking at something just with a little bit more depth to it, I would probably recommend an Eclipse instead. But yeah, it's a good weapon. It's just a good weapon. You know, it has great versatility. It has extremely good sustain, some of the best in the game along the Butcher. And, you know, it's already based on such a good initial platform that it's hard to argue that it could be bad in any way. You know, it's not that good at range, but, you know, you don't really want to use it at range. Sure, the vertical recoil is kind of harsh, but, you know, at the risk of sounding like a get good, just pull down. You know, it's a very, very good LMG. So, we're going to keep it short today. I'm going to try doing this. I'm going to try cutting these maybe a little bit shorter, just so that they don't drag on as hard. So, you know, it's a good gun. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow for either Hitman or Modern Warfare 2. So, thank you all very much, and you all have a good evening, or a good day, or a good afternoon. I don't know where you are, so have a good one. Thanks. Bye.